2021 Film Challenge, Week 4. Female directors, let's go. Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Popcorn. My name is John. We talk movies here. I'm continuing my 2021 Film Challenge. We're at Week 4, and today we're talking about female directors. Let's get started. First off, there are so many great films directed by women. One of my personal favorites is 1987's Near Dark, directed by Kathryn Bigelow. I know in the film world that's so heavily saturated with male directors that sometimes it's hard for female directors to break out and get noticed, especially if they don't have a huge body of work or the stuff that they've done isn't widely known. So let's get started. So on day one, we have a late 2020 release, and that is One Night in Miami. It was directed by Regina King. I really liked her in the new Watchmen that came out this last year. Just phenomenal. God, she kicks so much ass. One Night in Miami is based on a play, and it's about a fictional meeting that took place in the summer of 1963 between Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown. The film centers around the men talking about their fame and their notoriety and the social climate that they're currently living in. Sam Cooke has hits on the radio. Muhammad Ali is going by Cassius Clay, his real name up to this point. Jim Brown is moving away from the professional football life and into the movie business. And Malcolm X's movement is starting to gain traction and gain steam, and he's starting to get followed by the FBI. It was nice to see Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke because the guy can sing. I loved him in Hamilton, and he rocks it here. Everyone is brilliant in this cast. Everyone just kills it. To be fair, the film wasn't remarkable or groundbreaking, but it was a nice fictional tale that played out a what-if scenario if these four greats had actually met up together and kind of talked shop for a few hours. Like I said, everyone played their part fantastically, and they explore crucial social commentary that's still relevant today. Right now, if you're interested, it's still on Prime. I think actually Amazon Studios are the ones that actually put the film out. So check it out if you're curious, but One Night in Miami gets a B. Next up, we have the 40-year-old version. It's currently streaming on Netflix. It's also a late 2020 release, written, directed, and starring Radha Blank, and she just kills it in this movie. I mean, she is awesome. She did such a great job in this film. It's a semi-autobiographical tale about a playwright and teacher who has hit wall after wall as she tries to climb the playwright ladder and the arts ladder, try to make something of herself as a playwright. She finally gets a producer to read her stuff and say, yes, I'll greenlight this, we'll make this happen, but I'm gonna make some changes to it. So the way that Radha deals with all these frustrations is that she turns to rapping, just a few months shy of her 40th birthday. And she's rapping about passionate stuff. She's not rapping about the same old stuff that everyone else raps about. She's not spinning wheels here. She's talking about real, hard things that mean a lot to her, that mean a lot to a lot of people. This is a fascinating tale about identity and perseverance. You really understand all the struggles that Radha has to deal with, especially when she's dealing with all these gatekeepers who are telling her what and how her play should sound and look like. This film has an attitude, and I really enjoyed that. The 40-year-old version gets an A. So for day 3, Rungano Nyoni is the director, and her film is I Am Not a Witch, released in 2017. It tells the story of a young girl named Shula. She just shows up in a village one day, no one knows how she got there, and they immediately start accusing her of being a witch. The superstitious people of the village are just convinced beyond the shadow of a doubt that Shula is a witch, so the local government official and his wife take Shula into their custody, and then the story really gets underway. They then use Shula. They exploit her into solving legal issues, crop problems, and even peddling goods. This is definitely an original story. I've never seen a movie quite like this one before. Director Nyoni said she took inspiration for this story after hearing actual witchcraft accusations in Zambia and seeing actual witch camps in Ghana. Like, this stuff actually happens to people. It is a foreign film, and not that that's a problem, but it's also a very abstract film. Nyoni has a very unique eye when she's putting together this story. So watch with caution, and it is jumbled a little bit because of the construction of the movie itself, but I enjoyed it. I Am Not a Witch gets a B. On day 4, we have The Farewell, directed by Lulu Wang and released in 2019. It tells a story about a Chinese-American family. They go back to China under the ruse of a cousin's wedding, but what they're really there to do is to be around their grandmother, who is actually dying from cancer. Even though that she's basically the matriarch of the family, everyone decides to not tell the grandmother that she is sick or that she is dying, and just insist that they're all there for the actual wedding that is also taking place. The idea behind that is the family will take the burden, the psychological weight, the emotional impact of the grandmother being sick, and they will hold that onto themselves and release the grandmother from even having that burden by not knowing that she is sick. Awkwafina is the star. She plays the character of Billy, and we go through this movie through her perspective. And she is seeing this whole thing play out as someone from an American perspective would see it. You know, they're not helping the grandmother, they're lying to her, they're being deceitful to her. But the family doesn't see it that way. They see it as something that's traditional and honorable. So it's an interesting tale about culture clash and Billy having to decide where her loyalties lie, with her family or with her heart and doing what she thinks is right. This was a very well done film and a lot funnier than I was expecting it to be. Then again, Awkwafina is pretty funny. So there's that. Funny enough, it's the only Studio A24 film to ever be rated PG. How about that? I highly recommend this one. Go see The Farewell. I give it an A+. So for day 5, we have Chinonye Chikwu, and she directs Clemency, released in 2019. This is the story of a prison warden named Bernadine Williams, played by Alfre Woodard. And as a prison warden, she's responsible for many, many things, but the focus of this film is about death row and the prisoners that get executed, and how she has to deal with all the people and paperwork and responsibility and all those details that burden her down as the prison warden. It's like a path through this movie of all those things that she has to contend with on a daily basis, that stress her work ethic, that stress her marriage, her mental health. This film opens with an execution, and we immediately see how much stress Bernadine is under. And the story of Clemency is about her navigating through the next scheduled execution. You know, she has an inmate who is scheduled to be executed, and she can't break the ice with him, she can't connect with him, even to find out what his last meal is going to be. And there are pretty amazing performances all around here. Like, none of these roles had to have been easy to slide into. I won't spoil the ending, but I will say that Aldous Hodge, who plays the prisoner slated for execution, gives a dynamic, heart-wrenching performance. Like, his performance is a complete gut check, and it gives Woodard a run for her money. I mean, he was brilliant in this film. This is definitely not a date movie. Don't make this a date movie. No. Don't do it. But I will recommend this movie if you're looking for a case study on powerful yet painful character performances. This was a rough one, and Clemency earns its A. So on day 6, we have a relatively happy film to finally look at, and that is 2001's Monsoon Wedding, directed by Mira Nair. Like I said, this was definitely the happiest movie of the entire week. Hands down, easily the happiest movie. It was cute, it was funny, it had some serious moments, but it never goes overboard with any of them. And there is a lot to unpack in Monsoon Wedding. Like, I would need a whole other video to break out and break down Monsoon Wedding. It is set in India, and it's about a young woman who is caught up in an arranged marriage to a fellow countryman of hers who actually lives in Texas. They're going to get married, and she's going to move with him to Texas and leave her family behind. This guy she's never met before. But that's how arranged marriages usually go, I think. So it's going to be a huge wedding, and all of these characters show up, and it's this fun, crazy ride. This movie is a lot like The Farewell, and what I mean by that is if you were to watch either one, you would feel a little disoriented at first because it just drops you in the middle of everything. Like you just get dropped into the middle of a huge family. They don't take the time, either movie takes the time to explain who is who. You kind of have to figure it out as you go, which is kind of like real life. If you get introduced to a new family for the first time, it's just a bunch of random people, but by the end you're like, oh, you're so-and-so, and you're so-and-so, and you're so-and-so. But Monsoon Wedding knows what it's doing, and it takes its time for you to get your bearings before all the big heavy plot points start swinging. I had a really good time with this one. If you liked Crazy Rich Asians, you're gonna love Monsoon Wedding. It's that kind of film, although Crazy Rich Asians does a better job of explaining who is who. Yeah, you'll like Monsoon Wedding if you liked Crazy Rich Asians, and you'll probably like The Farewell also. So anyway, Monsoon Wedding, great style, great color, great music. I was dancing at the end of the film. It was so much fun, and I gotta give it an A+. All right, day 7, we're here, we made it, and we close out Female Director Week with The Bling Ring, directed by Sophia Coppola and released in 2013. And I've liked Sophia Coppola's work for years. I liked Virgin Suicides, and I still love Lost in Translation. I guess having a dad who's one of the most prolific directors to have ever walked the earth does have its effects. But I will say Sophia Coppola does have her own voice and her own style. The Bling Ring centers around a bunch of Southern California teens who, over the course of many months, rob the homes of a bunch of celebrities. They take cash, they take jewelry, they take clothes, they just take a bunch of stuff. And this was based on real events. This stuff actually happened. This crime ring was actually a crime ring, and they all got busted, they all went to jail. Spoiler alert, I guess. Even some of the celebrities that got robbed in real life show up in this movie as cameo appearances. I don't really recognize most of the principal cast except for Emma Watson, because it's Emma Watson. I just remember seeing that gif of her online where she's dancing in the club, and I kept wondering to myself, where the hell have I seen that from? What is that from? What movie did she do that in? It's The Bling Ring. Basically, the message I got from The Bling Ring was that if you're like these kids, and you're very spoiled and very privileged, and you don't have more or less real world problems to usually deal with, then you leave yourself wide open to temptation because you either feel very invincible or very bored, and you feel like you can't get caught. And they got caught. What is also unfortunate is that I walked away from The Bling Ring not really satisfied or really entertained either. I mean, I feel even though the cast did very well, and it was certainly well directed, the story just wasn't that great. The Bling Ring gets a C. That was week 4. My big takeaway is that there are many fantastic films directed by women that I still have yet to see. I know I only saw a small sample here this week, but I did notice something about this particular group. These films were either foreign, made exclusively for a streaming service, or just otherwise very much underseen. I feel this may be indicative of a larger scene at play here. For example, the new Candyman that's coming out later this year was directed by Nair DaCosta. But all of the press for Candyman has producer Jordan Peele's name on top of everything. And I get it. It's Jordan Peele, and it's marketing. His name is going to get butts in seats. I understand that part completely. But it also kind of makes the case that a lot of women filmmakers aren't getting the credit and the spotlight that they've so rightfully earned. I don't want to drag this out. That's just an observation. And like I said, I'm working on a very small sample from this week. But back to this week, my top film was Monsoon Wedding. The Farewell was a very close second. Super close second. And you should totally go see both of those films immediately. They're brilliant. Before we go hard into week 5, we're going to have our first Wildcard week, which will be from January 29th to January 31st. Now, the January Wildcard movies are already picked, and our next Wildcard week won't be until late March. So in the meantime, put down your picks in the comments, put your recommendation to what you think I should see next. And who knows, maybe I'll choose your movie. Leave a comment, find out. Thank you all so much for stopping by and checking out my channel. Until next time, take care, guys.